A network configurator is a tool for linking devices together. It has two modes, a list mode for mass linking devices and a linking mode for advanced device linking. The description is somewhat vague. It doesn't give descriptions of those terms. However, there is an entire in-game guidebook for it to give you much more information. But I will explain what this does. The network configurator is basically a multi-tool with less capabilities. This has changed several times in the past few weeks, so I'm not too surprised people are confused by this because it was added, basically killed the multi-tool, then given extra functionality, and now it's just a worse multi-tool. But either way, I'll still explain it. If you pick up the network configurator, it'll come in link mode. If you press Alt Z, you'll go in list mode. If you press Z while you're in list mode, it'll show you the saved devices. If you press Z, you go back to link mode, and pressing Z within link mode doesn't do anything. There's two common ways to link devices. One is to make signal buttons, which you can craft very cheaply for only 1 steel, or you get a remote signaler. To get a remote signaler, one place you can get them is through a Robotech Deluxe, which are in Science. You can also get remote signalers through a Vendomap, but there's only one in there. To get a network configurator, you can also find them in utools. The cool thing about that is that utools are all access, so you can link devices, and theoretically that should make getting a network configurator easier than a multi-tool, because a multi-tool is more dangerous for people to have, so security might end up calling it contraband, but I highly doubt any security officer is going to trip that hard. Actually, no, I lied. Somebody will. Anyway, to use the network configurator, first, I'll show you an example. If you try to link a door that you don't have access to, see, I don't have access to security, and link to the button, the UI will still show up. But if you try to link it to anything, you'll get pressed refuse the connection. However, there's also scenarios where if you try to link it up to like a window or something, you get a different error. It'll just say access denied. I'm not entirely sure why doors and like windows have different access denies. I feel like the door itself should also just do that rather than like teasing you into thinking you can do it. But if I take the remote signaler, for example, you could also do this with a button on a door I have access to. You can, let me clear everything. You can sync up the airlock to your remote signal and then do pressed on toggle. And anytime you press Z with the remote signal, it will open it and then close it. That's what toggle means. You can also link up things like light bulbs to the same exact device and then do press toggle. So now every time I press it, the light goes off and the door opens, and so on and so forth. Those are probably the most commonly linked things, for non-syndicates, that is. Another really commonly linked object is C4. You can make it so C4 will blow up instantly on a trigger. I don't really need to show that. That just makes it so you press Z with the remote signaler, it will blow it up. However, though, something that's very useful about network configurators is that you can mass link up doors if you have access to them. As you can see in this example, if you toggle the doors like so, and like so this door and this door are on a toggle, so you can make almost an airlock functionality, which can be useful for people like security. So you can run through the door and then press Z, it'll instantly close the door behind you and open the next door. One thing that you can also do is that, like, for an example, an air alarm has vents and scrubbers and sensors assigned to it. So, like, if you ever want to get, if you ever want to add another scrubber to the hallway, so as you can see, there's 4 scrubbers. What you have to do is you have to take the network configurator to list mode, and then click add, and then it'll add the air scrubber. Apparently, the R gets cut off. That's kind of funny. That's fire L. Very interesting. Fire alarms are on a network, so if I press this now, nothing's linked. But if I want this fire lock to only have these 3 fire locks attached to it, you can do so. So you can make more specific buttons. You can craft fire alarms, by the way. You need the fire alarm electronics. So you could use it as a way to set up your own like little fire blocks and have more control over it. But you can't set up fire locks to something like a remote signal. It just does not work. And the mode automatically swaps to listing and linking depending on the device, so you don't have to constantly press Alt Z. But the only reason you want to do that is if it's not in list mode and you want to swap to it. Hopefully this wasn't too confusing, but thankfully the network configurator is not that complicated due to the fact that is somewhat limited on its options. And as I mentioned, you can't hack doors with it. It does nothing, where the multi-tool does. And yeah, the multi-tool does the same thing, it just has more capability. So if you have a multi-tool, you do not need a network configurator.